Hi everybody, and welcome to my 5th video. Today I'm going to be talking about the Kiev 60 / Kiev 6C again, and I'm going to just list a few little, I like to call them crap hacks, because they're not amazing, but they do the trick, they do the job very well, and these cameras are really worth just sending out for CLA or sending out to RX or AirX and getting them. You can get them refinished, get them painted black. It's really nice. I have not done that. It can cost up to like almost $500 for a camera that you could get with a lens and a finder and a body for $120. So it's kind of up there, but you're pretty much guaranteed to have a really great camera for a long time if you send it out. But these little things that I've done in the past that I still continue to do have proved fruitful. So I will be talking about those today on a video right after this. Okay, so what I'm going to show you right now is one really cheap way to get around spacing issue in your Kiev 6C or Kiev 60. There's other ways people do it. This is the way I found works for me. Also, highly recommend just sending it out for a CLA if you have the money and time to wait for it to get fixed. That'll make sure and ensure that your camera is actually doing its best, and you'll get the best results out of it. But this has worked just perfectly fine for me. And what you'll need is a 120 spool, metal or plastic, either one, some masking tape or painter's tape, and an X-Acto blade. And that's it. And I'm just going to show you in stages. It doesn't take very long to do it all, but I don't want to have to, slow it all down with the process. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your spool, you're going to take the tape, and you're going to just start from one side. You're going to go wrap around, wrap around, wrap around, wrap around. You don't need too much. But if you do a little bit extra, it really isn't going to affect the outcome of the spacing. It's just going to make it better. So you're going to go wrap it all the way up to about the middle, and then you're going to take your X-Acto knife and you're going to cut down so that you reveal this opening for the film leader to go, and the other side as well. And then once that half is done, you're going to start your tape here again, right at the middle, start wrapping all the way up to about this edge, and then cut down again where the new tape has been applied to reveal this part of the gap, and again on this side. And then that's going to give you space to put on either side, whichever one you prefer. Sometimes the spools have a smaller opening on one side, but it'll give you 2 openings to be able to put your film leader and actually be able to use as a take-up spool. And here's one that's done. It's pretty, here's the smaller side, here's the longer side. It doesn't have to look pretty, it just has to work. Here's another example where the tape is a little bit more, it's a little looser, it's never caused any issues. I generally like to have a couple of these with me wherever I go with my Kiev, just to make sure that I have the proper film spool, to make sure that the spacing is going to be correct. Because once you use this, you gotta wait till you develop the film to get it back, or get home and make more of them. So rather than carrying all this stuff around with me, I just carry the spool around with me. And that is a great way, and an easy way, and a quick way to create better spacing and not have a centimeter overlap of 2 of your images where you have to edit it in post or cut it and do some weird cropping and lose part of your image, and it's just not worth it. So hopefully that was helpful, and I'll see you in a little bit. Hello again. So here is my Kiev 60. I have a Kiev 6C and another Kiev 60. This one, when I got it, the frame counter window was missing, and so for some reason I still haven't fixed this. I just put a piece of plastic over the top rather than opening up the cover and refixing it underneath so it looks better and is flush and whatnot. I will do that soon. But let's get into some little things about this camera. The first thing I will say is it's a great camera. Very substantial, makes great images. These lenses that come with it. This is the Vega 12B, and it is stunning in my opinion. Highly recommend this lens. I think the bokeh is beautiful, and it's lightweight, has a nice matte finish. It's great. It's not super big. It's not like a giant tube. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. First thing I will say, lots of people talk about this on the old web. With these cameras, as with any camera, you should. It's a tool, but also take care of it. When advancing, you want to advance fully and in a smooth, semi-slow little stroke. So there's a click there at the end. That means it's fully advanced. The mirror's set, everything's ready to go. The shutter is ready to actually be fired. And there you go. That was 2 seconds. And not letting it slap back is key. Also, when you want to change the shutter speed, always make sure you advance this camera first. Lots of rushing cameras. Something about the mechanism inside, you have to advance before changing the shutter speed. If you don't do that, something could go terribly wrong. So I'll change it to 4, fire the shutter, advance, change it to 8, there you go, advance, always guide it back. Always bring it back. You can do it fast, but it's just not letting it whoosh back every time, because it wears on these old little puppies. So you want to just treat it kindly. And there is that little click at the end that lets you know it's fully advanced right there. So just for knowing. And then other things with this camera. Something that I have found is very weird. These preview levers don't always work. This one does not work. On my other 60, it does work. The 60s, they have a little ring here with a little threaded hole, and that is for a flash accessory. They're out there. They're a little hard to find. I think they get lost a lot. I do have one somewhere, but it sets in here. You have a little thing you screw in, and it sets, and then it has a little flash accessory that sets right here. And it doesn't come up too high, so it doesn't get in the way of your shutter dial. And it's pretty nice. And then you have your little area to plug in your cable for your flash, and you go ahead and fire away. And my flash sync zone here is a little bit off center, so I don't know if you can see that, probably not, but the little inside there is over to the right side a little bit, so it's kind of hard to use. I haven't actually tried because it looks like it's not going to work, and I don't know if I'll spend the time fixing that, but maybe someday. So there's that. That's pretty cool. These viewfinders are very bright, and I think the ground glass is very nice. It's just it is a great quality. It's great quality. That's all I'll say. Another thing to know about these, flip it over. The bottom plate on the 60 is a little bit different than the 6C. You have this little button here and these little flippy tabs. these are what are going to control the little spool bits on the inside. So when you pop these open and you turn them, you can lock the little nubbins in the bottom here that hold your spool. So you can pop your spools out, switch them, take the used film out, put new film in. And this is the way you open the back door on these. On the 6C, it's different. 6C, you just pop this up and twist it, and the door pops open. On the 60, you push this way and then press this little tab, this little button down, and the door pops open. So let's see. There we go. Popped right open. Great. Now you have your tabs. If you have any work to do, I can't seem to find where my nail would go. So you pull that out and turn it counterclockwise, depending on how you're looking at it, and it stays out, so you can stick your spool in. Let's see if I can do this upside down. I don't know. And then there you go. And it rotates. It's locked in there. It's great. And then flip that down. And I already have a take-up spool in there with some tape on it, ready to go. Yeah, I mean, these cameras are very, very great. Usable as heck. Something that can go wrong with these cameras that you should always check for before buying. One of the many things. This shutter curtain is a little bit wrinkly, not really super bad. I don't know if you can see that. It's like a little, has some like little slight waves in it. It works perfectly still though. All the shutter speeds to me sound very accurate. I have had no issues with this camera. The shutter curtain doesn't hang up or anything. Just has some little wrinkles. But some of these will have white on them or patches, and that is burning. And some people will sell them not knowing what it is. It also could be something else, but I've seen it and it looks to me to be just little pinhole burns all over. And that happens when you have your lens cap off and you have the shutter not advanced, so the mirror is not down, and the light is coming straight through. Zing, burns holes in it. Also can happen with the mirror lockup on these. If you have had RX or AirX do any work on these, they can add mirror lockup, and that can also cause you or the user to forget and end up burning holes in their shutter curtain. So a way to fix that, other than just sending it out, getting it fully repaired, which is a great way to do it, is some liquid electrical tape, and you just find your spot or spots wherever they are and carefully brush it on and make sure you coat it, but don't do more than one coat at a time because that stuff takes a little while to dry, and before you advance move the curtain at all, you want to make sure that stuff is dry. So I would recommend at least giving it, and this could be a little bit of a hindrance, but if you're going to send it out for repair, that might take longer. Anyways, I would give it at least 5 days for the first coat to dry to a week, and then another 5 days to a week for the second coat. But always do the tacky test before very carefully because it's shutter curtain. Just see if it's tacky before you put another coat down. That stuff is waterproof and also really light tight if you use it as a way to fix it. It's good stuff. So now that we have that covered, another little thing that I have found is these have a tendency to be very tippy because you have this rounded bottom here for the lens mount and the base of the camera here. When you have a lens on it, it has a tendency to tip really well, just over and over and over and over again. Just keep and it'll surprise you sometimes. And I've reached for it thinking it's gonna fall, and it didn't, luckily. But if you have it on the edge of something on a bookshelf and you think it's gonna be okay, and then all of a sudden it just kind of takes a little, it can be a little freaky. So a way that I've found to remedy that is take a 120 spool, and this is pretty cheap, very easy, doesn't take very long way to fix this. If you're not into those kinds of fixes, I don't recommend it, but it's worked for me. It's been great. You're going to cut a little less than 1/2 inch off here, right here, and then sand it down with a file, or even the concrete on the sidewalk, or if you have a sander, anything really, just to get it as level as possible, so that when you find the center of the base here, when you put the super glue on, you find the center, you put it on there, and you hold it. It takes maybe 10-12 seconds to be dry enough to just be able to set it down, and it is no longer tippy. It's very sturdy, really great. I've had one on my 6C. I have one of these too, and it got loose. I just put more glue on it, and it worked. I don't ever plan on reselling any of these Kievs. I plan on using them till I have to get them fixed, or fix them myself, or they just don't work anymore. So I'm not worried about, affecting the resellability of these. I just want to use them. You can also use just like I think this is just from the inside of a disposable camera film canister, but these are all in Kodak, Fuji, whatever canisters. The actual canisters, not the bulk load, but you could also use bulk load ones and do the same thing. Just cut it to size, set it. This one has a little bit of a little bump, though it's not completely flat like a 120, and it's going to cover a little less surface area, but it'll still do the trick. What else have we got? On the 6C, you have a little knob here that you lift up. You just pull it up here, and you turn it, and that is going to pick how many frames and what type of film technically you're using. So 220 or 120, and you have 10, or I think... I've never used 220, so I'm actually not versed on that. But more than 10 frames. I think maybe like 20 or something like that. It's a lot more. Don't quote me on that. Look it up yourself. I'm sorry, I'm maybe giving you other information that's not fully accurate in that, in the not knowing of the 220. But yeah, this does not have that. It just has a little plate with spanner wrench holes for loosening or tightening. And you have your frame counter. You have your film speed selector, which doesn't really do anything, just like a reminder. And then on the 60, you have your shutter release on the right side, which makes room for the flash accessory holder. And on the 6C, you have your shutter release on the left side, which you don't have a flash accessory holder on that camera. One other thing that I have found on these bodies, especially, the 6Cs seem to be fine so far. The 60s, they both have these two little nubs for attaching your waist level finder, your TTL prism, and your non-TTL prism finder. But the prism finders don't want to set on at least the TTL one that I have. It could just be a faulty one, but it doesn't fit on either of my 60s. It clicks in fine on the 6C. The waist level finders click in fine on all three of my bodies, but the TTL won't lock on the right side. And I've tried fiddling with this. It doesn't seem to do a thing. The left side will lock in, so you'll just have a jiggly, on this side, jiggly finder. And I mean, you could tape it down. That might look crappy. You could go out and just hope that it stays. If you do push it down, and even if it's not locked, as long as you don't jostle it around, it'll give you proper focus, as long as your prism is set well in itself. But it's really sketchy to me, so I don't use it. I just use waist level finder on these, and on my 6C, I like the way that they look. It's bright, it's clear, it's easy to focus. The magnifier is great. Highly recommend the waist level finder if you have one of these. And it's just a little more compact. It's lighter. The waist level finder weighs nothing. yeah, it's a great system. I just communicate with the buyer if you're interested in them. They're still super cheap. I don't know if they'll ever go up in price because of the quality control and people not really being super jazzed on them and all the other options there are out there, but highly recommend these. And if you are really wanting a black body or a silver one still, but one that is looked at, reworked, maybe has mirror lockup, contact the people at RX or AirX. They do really good work and they have pricing and they get back to you really quickly too. I'm still debating whether or not I want to buy a reworked body from them. I don't right now have the finances, but in the future I might do that just to have it and to use and see the differences. And I think that seems fun to me to just play around with it and see what they've done. But yeah, for now, I think that's it. If anyone has any ideas or clues about these tabs on these bodies and why they don't, on the 60, why it doesn't allow the prism to lock in, especially on this right side, please comment below and let me know, because I have no idea. But until next, thanks for watching, and that's all I got. Hopefully this is helpful. Bye!